Okay, we got a brand new engine going together. This is for Brian Profit in the Street Ninja truck, and Josh is being too stubborn to talk about it, so I'm going to talk about it. But really, the other engine was a built engine, had Corilla rods in it, but the rod bearing or the wrist pin bushings were beat out of it, and there was enough things wrong. It needed pistons, it needed honed out, the fire rings were wrong. We ended up just building a whole new Performance Series engine for it. So it has D&J rods, girdle, their D&J head. It's a meal deal, long block, ready to go. Going back together, it had a 12 mil pump on the bottom with a ATS added pump on top, and some of those bracketry was not lining up correctly, so we're just going to go to a single 14 mil pump, and it just simplifies all the plumbing with the fuel system. But Josh is going to keep putting this together, and we're going to get this thing back on the truck and try to get a running driving truck here in the next couple days, and then it'll go on the dyno and see what power it makes. Okay, Josh got Brian Profit's truck back on the road and everything's running good. Now we're just doing some dyno tuning, making sure the new setup's all dialed in with the 14 mil pump that we put on it, making sure there's no fuel surging. Just preliminary first couple runs we did, there was no surge. Everything seems to be playing nice. Tune 1 did a little over 1,000, Tune 3 did a little over 1,000, and Tune 4 did 1,145 horsepower. Now I'm reflashing it. I'm gonna make Tune 5. I'm targeting about 1,250 horsepower because this is a D&J Performance Series engine, which is a stock 6.7 block. So we have true 6.7 displacement, billet rods, girdle, all that. The weakest link of this engine is the actual stock block. There's plenty of guys that have made 1,500 horsepower on a stock block, but once you do that 80 to 100 times running in a season, you end up with a crack in the cylinder wall, and we don't recommend it. So ideally, we're gonna dial this thing in around 1,250 horsepower, and then he can turn it down, have a 1,000 horsepower street truck, turn it up when he wants to have fun. It'll be a nice, fun street truck for him, and we can get this thing off the dyno, and he can officially get his first drive on a truck that he bought and has not even been able to drive it yet, because he bought this to us in May. If you guys remember that we dynoed this and blew a head gasket, and when we pulled the head, it had a whole bunch of O-ring, fire ring problems, and the pistons were starting to score on the cylinder walls, and we just put a whole new Performance Series engine in it. So it's been 3 months of making decisions on what he wants to do, and it's finally back together. So we're gonna see what we can end up with here today. Okay, we finished the day at 1,272 horsepower. That's at 2,000 microseconds. With the old engine, we had done 1,263 horsepower at 2,200 microseconds. So the engine is working a little bit better with the same fuel quantity. And because it was making 1,800 foot-pounds of torque, with Bing's it's a stock block, we don't want to push those issues as far as cracking a cylinder wall on a brand new engine. So we're going to leave it at 1,272 horsepower and 1,800 foot-pounds max effort. Tune 1 did 525 horsepower, and so we got a nice window of horsepower. With the T6 on the manifold, Tune 1 is pretty lazy down low. It really takes a little bit of fuel to get these turbos up on boost. So I'm guessing this truck will actually probably drive a little better on a 700 horsepower tune-up than it will Tune 1, but he's got something that he can turn down if he ever has to put a buddy in it or something like that he wants to hide the power switch from or something like that. But we're going to get this thing off the dyno and turn this back over to Brian.
Maverick Connor's 2006 truck. That was originally a G56 that he 48 swapped it with a Rev Max transmission. He has S&S 200% injectors, and he has dual fuelers. He has a stock pump and an industrial 10 mil, and then also has a stainless 468 8710 5-blade turbo. Has a reman head on it, and I believe he has 12 valve rods with ARP main studs. I think we retuned it for this setup last year, and he just now was able to get it here on the dyno. So we flashed a tune into it. We ended up making really good numbers for the setup. We made 1,038 and 1625 foot-pounds of torque. Really good numbers for it. That turbo's normally only rated for 950, but we were able to, with him putting a 6.7 sensor in it, we were able to command a little bit higher rail pressure than the 5.9 is capable of. So I think that really helped. But if you look at the dyno graph, you can see at lower RPM it made more power, but as the RPMs got higher, then obviously it ran out of air. So he's really happy with those numbers. On tune 1, I believe it made 600 horsepower, and then the other tunes are separated in between there. So I will get him off the dyno and send him on his way.